Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On The Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Orduna. This is my mom, Gina.
He is a journalist.
She's the enthusiast.
I'm enthusiastic because there's some good topics today, some women-centered topics today.
Yes, we have our Week in Sports News update today, and we do have a lot of women or female topics that we want to bring up today. We do want to congratulate all the women out there for all of the sacrifice and fighting that has taken place over the years, especially within this country for Title IX. It is the 45th anniversary just passed the other day, and it's been a huge accomplishment for, again, like I said, all the women that sacrificed and fought hard to
just
really
have the
fight
right to
for,
play, really.
Women's equality within athletics, and so that's a huge deal. So we're really excited about that. We've got some Serena Williams headlines that really she had nothing to do with, but she's been brought up. And then we've got College World Series we want to talk about, and then we've got Tim Tebow as well at the end that we'll bring up. So do you want to talk about the Serena Williams situation, as that's one of our main topics for today, as we mentioned Title IX, and as this is the 45th anniversary, as it just passed a few days ago. What kind of happened here with Serena Williams that, again, it really didn't have anything to do with her, as she didn't do anything, but she was brought up in this kind of weird situation?
Well, sure thing. Well, John McEnroe, who's a tennis legend in his own right, was on NPR, National Public Radio, and he was being interviewed by Lulu Garcia Navarro. Is that her name? Navarro. Sorry, I'm so bad with that. Navarro. Lulu Garcia Navarro. And John was actually paying Serena a compliment. He just said, you know, she is the greatest female player ever. And Lulu says to him, well, why qualify? Why is she the greatest female? And he goes, well, what do you mean? Well, can't she? And then Lulu said, oh, isn't she the greatest player ever? He goes, well, you mean against men? And I think John McEnroe took it literally, and he was sitting there trying to think, well, if she played on the men's circuit, where would she fall in the men's ranking? Right. And so he said, well, if she played the men's circuit, she could probably win. She's really mentally tough, but you know, if she played the circuit year round, she might be 700th in the world. Well, Serena got hold of it, and she tweeted back at him and said, dear John, I've always respected you and I think the world of you, but basically said, keep my name out of your mouth. She just said, leave my name out of your statements. I've never played a 700th player in the world, so it's irrelevant. I'm at home trying to have a baby. Please respect that. Love and grace, basically. Yeah. And it's been a discussion now for several days, and it really is hot on the heels of the anniversary, the 45th anniversary of Title IX. It's hard to believe that it's only been 45 years. I'm 46. Right. So basically, if I'd been born a couple of years early, I would have been born at a time where there wasn't any protection for women to have equal access to sports or education or those things. Sure. So anyway, I don't think John is back down, because what he's trying to say is, look, if a woman had to play the man's circuit, men play best out of 5, right. Women play best out of 3. He said, as powerful and strong as Serena is, I just still think that's where she would fall. Right. I think it was a gotcha question. Sure. Yeah. He started out saying Serena is the greatest woman ever, and it should have been left at that. Instead, he went on to try to make a literal comparison. If you ran a woman through the men's ranks, what would happen? And it kind of blew up from there. But it's really sad, because the truth is, Serena's, I think, the greatest tennis player ever. If you look at her winning record, how she aces, how she plays the game, she should just be qualified as a player. It shouldn't be, well, can a woman beat a man? Because she trains with men. Yes. And she beats men all the time. Correct. But just the way it was phrased, I think it turned into a gotcha thing, and it's really blown up. And I really honestly wished it would have just stopped with, I wish Lulu Garcia Navarro would have just left it at that and just said, well, I agree with you. So. Well, and that's kind of part of NPR a little bit. It was the Sunday morning broadcast, and so you're trying to bring people on the radio show that can kind of give you headlines, and that's exactly what they got. John and Patrick McEnroe have always kind of been in the headlines for being kind of risque or doing suspect things. We won't really get into that, but they're in the headlines for certain reasons, not so much when it comes to tennis, although they do have a great tennis record, the both of them do, but off the tennis court for saying inappropriate things or doing things that most people may not agree with, right? Nightlife-wise. John McEnroe has skeletons in his closet and out of his closet. Exactly. So therefore, it doesn't quite surprise me that John would maybe say something, but I do agree. I think it was one of those gotcha questions. I don't really think it should have gotten that deep. Right. I think she was trying to kind of set him up in a way, and so therefore he was just thinking as a athlete where someone may fall,
And I think in a way, if you can kind of compare it, we were talking about this pre-production, Diana Taurasi. We're speaking of the Title IX things and all the stuff going on. She broke the WNBA all-time scoring record. She is a phenomenal basketball player. She could go down as the best women's basketball player of all time, potentially.
Really?
And I don't think that's far off to say that.
7,490 or 940 points
she's
or
just
something
amazing.
crazy.
She's a national champion from UConn.
Olympic champion and WNBA champion.
And a WNBA champion and now she's a scoring champion. She's a Hall of Fame basketball player. Do I think that if she played a couple men or some men one-on-one that she would win? I happen to believe so. She's a phenomenal basketball player. But when you're talking about maybe some of the best and on the men's side, like a LeBron or Kyrie or Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook, maybe, I think it would kind of be a difficult challenge for her. Do I think she'd maybe be able to score points and still challenge those guys? I think so. I think the same thing applies for Serena. If she plays Roger Federer or Nadal or Djokovic or any of those guys, I can put money on it that she would ace them. She would hit some backhand shots, some forehand shots, and may even win a game or two. Like you said, she beats men all the time. Sparring partners and in the mixed doubles.
Well, and by the way, so does Taurasi. If you look at UConn women's basketball team, when they're scrimmaging against men.
When you go to UConn, when you go to any of any women's college basketball, any women's college basketball team, a lot of the times they're scrimmaging the men or the other men's, like they'll like grab like kind of a renegade team of like basketball guys and they'll play against the men. It's just to elevate their level of competition. And so I think it was a gotcha question. Serena is the greatest of all time. She's an amazing athlete, and I just think it was one of those kind of terrible situations for John McEnroe.
Well, especially right at the timing. It's, 45th anniversary of Title IX. And back to the Taurasi thing, I think one-on-one, anybody can beat anybody at basketball, to be honest with you.
I agree with
but
that,
I think the comparison is like if you put Taurasi on a male's team.
Sure.
She's the lone female, and she had to go, game after game and guard some of the male players or whatever. I just think that those are gotcha comparisons to make. And instead of just saying this is the best athlete right now just for what their record is, their skill set, we try to make these really unfair comparisons that get everybody off track. Because at the end of the day, Taurasi's a beast, and Serena Williams to me is the best athlete all around, all sports right now. That's how I feel about it. But that being said, I don't think McEnroe intended to start the firestorm he did.
I definitely don't. And
maybe I'm just naive.
Well, these are just bad comparisons in general. And again, a gotcha question, and anyone can throw that out there and get a reaction. And so, again, I don't think there was any super ill will with what was going on. Okay, let's talk about the College World Series. As Game 1 took place last night. Florida and LSU, two SEC teams.
Which stinks.
It does kind of stink.
How do they set those up so that you can have two teams from the same conference? What they do is they set them up in different regions.
And if
but
you
that's
come out
ridiculous.
On top, then you end up making it to the
final.
final.
Now you're just watching an SEC showdown, and that's no fun.
Well, it happens in college football, too. It was LSU and Alabama a couple years ago.
That's true, in the national championship.
So that stuff does tend to happen, and it just is what it is. And Duke and North Carolina sometimes will have that matchup.
You know what? That's true. That's true.
It's
that's just my SEC hate going on right now.
When it comes to the national championship, you'd like to see two teams from other conferences play each other if you could. But that's kind of how
maybe
it is
it's because Florida knocked off TCU from the Big 12. I'm just a little salty.
Right.
Well, it's the best 2 out of 3, so Game 2 is tonight. We'll see.
Game 2 is tonight, and if Florida does win, they will become the 5th team in college sports to win baseball, basketball, and football. And there's a couple of schools that are already in that category.
That.
So Florida is looking for that. But I'm rooting for LSU. And
I, too, am rooting for LSU.
There's a Lee Summit native that is a pitcher for LSU. So I'm really hoping that they can pull this one off, and it would be good to see LSU get one. And speaking of baseball, as we mentioned, Tim Tebow is now moving up in the rankings within the Mets organizations. He's been down in single A ball and kind of the rookie ball area, and he did do spring training with the guys with the Mets and had a couple games up there, but they sent him back down to single A, and so now he's moving his way up. And so There were some people that feel a certain way about that as well, but honestly, I don't really think it matters.
Well, my opinion on that is I have no opinion.
Exactly.
If you need to sell seats and you've sold all your single A seats, and now you want to sell some double A seats, you can move them up. Okay, Mets,
we'll see
do
what
your
happens.
thing.
Right. Well, we want to say we appreciate your time, folks. That's our Week in Sports News update. Continue to follow us on all of our social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Type in my name, Adam Orduna. Like our Facebook page. Type in OTD. We want to say we'll see you again, folks.